This time around, Atomic Heart for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Atomic Heart is a first-person shooter with some role-playing and stealth elements implemented, featuring a setting that is very unique because in this setting, Russia, Soviet Union, actually won World War II. So that means in this alternate history where the game is taking place, specifically in the year 1955, the Soviet Union has been able to not only survive, but also really take over the entire world. And one of the main reasons for that is because of its advancements in technology, specifically when it comes to robots. Robots that are able to help and do tasks that would be usually associated with manual labor now is in the hand of robots, which allows for people to have a better, more fruitful, more enjoyable life. Unfortunately, there is a traitor amongst the midst of the Soviet Union, and that allows for the robots to be infected with a virus that actually causes them to harm any human that's in the vicinity. So of course you take control of a person that is trained in the military, in the case P3, an individual who has some severe memory problems other than the fact he knows how to kill very well. And it's up to the player to find out the secrets behind why the Russian government has been betrayed and how to figure out how to stop society from falling apart as they know it, because these robots have been actually scattered throughout the entire world. It's just not isolated to the Soviet Union. And that's one of the more interesting aspects about the game, the characters and just the general presentation of the story. It's not outstanding or game-changing, but it's done very well, and I understand why a lot of people, especially when it comes to the aesthetics, compare this to BioShock, especially BioShock Infinite. But it really isn't, and one of the main reasons for that is because of the main character, P3. P3 is rooted in the late 90s, early 2000s edgelord type of protagonist that spits out catchphrases, insults, and most importantly, hates the idea of being helped, specifically with one of the major tools of the gameplay, and that is a glove that talks to him. This polymer glove actually gives P3 specific powers that can be upgraded and actually utilized in battle. Of course, you have things like telekinesis, electrifying shocks, and one of my personal favorites, the ability to freeze enemies and then, of course, use your shotgun to blast them away. Now, certain enemies, of course, you can freeze them and shoot them and it won't kill them. And one of the best weapons in the entire game that I've found thus far is the shotgun. It does a lot of damage. You can get a lot of ammo for it pretty much as you progress through the story. And it seems like it's one of those objects that, like most shotguns in any first-person shooter, is a testament to how deadly the weapon can be. But it doesn't feel like you're just stagnant. It doesn't feel like that you have to do this one thing, because you're given quite a few tools via the skill tree that is available by this quite disturbing vending machine that is sexually harassing P3 throughout the entire game. Now, the enemies themselves, and this is one of the biggest gameplay issues for me. Not only are the enemies not necessarily varied as the game starts, and even as you get through the first few hours, but most importantly for me, the hit detection feels off. And then to top it off, the hit reaction is even worse. While there is indications that you've been hit, especially when you're hit with an attack that knocks you back, there's a lack of force and oomph behind the enemy's hits that you'll be being hit either from behind or to the side and not really recognize it, other than the fact you see that your health bar has gone down. Now, I have the rumble function turned on my controller, and that's very weak as well, I noticed. It just feels like there's a lack of punch behind the enemy attacks beyond the ones that knock you back. And a lot of the times, the majority of the attacks that they're throwing you are minor attacks, but they do a lot of damage. So you have to be very careful, very mindful. And this also ties into the fact that, to me, the melee combat on the side of P3 is very disappointing. It's floaty. It doesn't feel like you have the best aim at times. There'll be times where you're swinging and either your animation will be interrupted very quickly, or you may just completely miss even though the enemy is right there. When it comes to the gunplay, I think it's actually very good. I don't have really any problems with the gunplay and utilizing P3's powers. But when it comes to melee, it's just one of the weakest points of the game, and definitely something that I don't know how they're necessarily going to fix it, because it's rooted in the gameplay. And maybe that's because I'm playing on console. Maybe on PC it's completely different. But for me, playing on Xbox, it doesn't feel very good when it comes to the melee. There are also QuickTime events, and this is another big problem. Not necessarily because of QuickTime events. They are somewhat of an issue, but one of the biggest problems with this game thus far, and something that they have promised that they are working on, is the small text. You cannot at this time adjust the text. We're a couple of weeks removed from the release, and the text adjustment settings are not there. The accessibility options are not there when it comes to this game. I don't know why they made the text so small, and in general it really does hurt the game in a lot of ways, especially when you're trying to see dialogue from NPCs that are talking far away. You can hear them, but you can barely see what they're saying. Now, once again, the developers said they're working on this. They're going to fix this. So I'm looking forward to actually playing the game a lot more when it has better text settings. Technically, the game is also a mixed bag. I've had a lot of frame rate drops. I had some stuttery glitches. I haven't had any major crashes or game-breaking bugs. But I will say I've had some issues with the combat because of, say, frame rate drops. And most importantly, enemies kind of teleporting behind you around the screen, where I've had an enemy right in front of me and all of a sudden they'll just jump behind me and hit me from behind. It's no way it could have done it. It's just a regular enemy, and other enemies don't do that, so it's very weird. And then there are times where the indicator of me being hit from behind is nowhere to be found. Overall, Atomic Heart is a solid first-person shooter. It's not remarkable, even though the setting is very interesting and the idea and the premise is. The gunplay is solid, the melee is definitely not redeeming, and the technical issues really bring this down. If you have Game Pass, or even if you don't, I say wait. At least if you're interested in it, wait until a few more patches come out that hopefully fix a lot of the problems that the game has initially. And if you do have Game Pass, I definitely say not only wait, but do give it a try. It's a solid first-person shooter. It's not necessarily great. It probably won't leave a grandiose lasting impression on you and make you feel like you played the game of the year, but it's still a fun time when everything is working fine. Overall, wait until the patches are out. Wait until it's on sale if you have Game Pass. Get it on Game Pass, but make sure you wait until those patches are out. And a lot of the problems that I'm talking about right now are hopefully fixed.
Oh, shit. That was a surprise.
I agree. You've got quick reflexes, Major.
You bet. I wouldn't survive without him. Charles, that was a Bullock, right? A tunneling robot.
Indeed it was. Barovs can drill through even the hardest minerals at incredible speed. Soviet science has high hopes for them in regard to our inevitable conquest of all the planets in the solar system.
Flinching.